Hey friends, it's me, Shannan, coming back at you with another artist anecdote. This is for all my nerds out there because when I was younger, I was a complete nerd. Actually, I still am a complete nerd, but we're going to see the depths of my nerddom in this story. So, when I was in elementary school, I lived in a house. Well, it was a duplex actually, but our side of the duplex, we had an enclosed porch, and it wasn't just enclosed. It was a solid structure, walls, windows, a locked door, everything. So you could keep things out there without fear of them getting ruined in the elements. So this porch was my play area, and I would say I was probably in, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade-ish. So, maybe 10, 11, somewhere in there. And I was a huge bookworm. Like, I lived in books. I owned books. We rented books from the library. I always had my nose in a book, always. And I had so many books that I had my playroom lined with the books, and I had them set up so that they were organized like a library would be organized, right? Again, I'm telling you, I was a complete nerd. So, I had toys and everything, but my books were my pride and joy. They were my happy place. I loved them. And so I decided that I thought it would be really cool if my friends could borrow my books. And so I set up the books as though my playroom were a library. And I had a place where my friends could check out the books, write down their name, what book they were taking out, and they could borrow them and then bring them back. And I'm sure, had some kind of a system that if they didn't, return them in a certain amount of time, that they would be fined. And I'm making air quotes, fined, because how can you fine a 10-year-old when you are a 10-year-old? But all of my books were available to my friends to check out. So I'm going to give you a minute here to think about, how many books do you think my friends checked out from me? Just take a wild guess. How many do you think? Well, if you said 0, you would be absolutely correct, because no other kid on the planet wanted to check out books from my library, which, to be honest, I find kind of slightly offensive. What was wrong with my library? I had some pretty awesome books in there. But yeah, my friends, and I use air quotes because friends, were not interested. So let me explain what friends were when I was 10. Now, I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up a latchkey kid. We were friends with people in our neighborhood because those were the only kids that we were really exposed to. So whether you liked those kids or not, they were the ones that you spent time with. As you can imagine, especially if you are younger and have had the experience of being able to pick and choose friends based on similar interests, there were not a lot of kids in my neighborhood that had similar interests to me. I was definitely the odd one out. I never quite fit in school. I always had maybe just a small handful of friends. And so when I say friends, that I had friends check them out, I really mean like the neighborhood kids, right? And the neighborhood kids were not at all interested in my books. They were interested in going out and playing. They were interested in sports, which I was not at all interested in. So I had the most amazing library in my playroom, and not one person wanted to check out my books. So that is the story of my playroom library. I hope that you found it entertaining. It is definitely an entertaining memory when I think back on it. Oddly enough, or maybe not so oddly enough, I still have a huge library of books in my house. I'm still willing to give my books to people to read if they're interested in it. Although I will have to say that as an adult, I find there are many more people willing to read books that I want to loan them than when I was a kid. So I did. Now, okay, to be fair, I did think about for a short period of time the idea of going to school for computer and library science and get my master's degree for that. But then, because I like to make life hard, I decided to actually go back and get a master's in teaching to become a teacher, which in the moment was probably a good decision, because it almost immediately got me into a job that allowed me to have a non-poverty lifestyle. But now, there are enough people retiring from library positions that I probably could have gotten a good library job at this point. But that's neither here nor there. I still love books. My home library is still freaking amazing. And if you need book recommendations, let me know. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button. Maybe subscribe if you want to hear some more stories. I am a goofy, nutty, wild person, and I have some really out there stories to tell. So, till the next time, see you later.